Welcome to Movies in the Making. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the 1937 animated fantasy film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, originally released by RKO Radio Pictures and directed by 5 directors, supervised by David Hand. Here, we will dive deep into the story of the production of this film, which is not only the very first feature film to come out of Disney, but also the very first animated feature film ever made. So why even try to make a live-action remake out of this prestigious film? Just sit back and enjoy the show. You are all in for a ride that will make you go hi-ho. Walt Disney's idea for adapting the Brothers Grimm fairy tale Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs into a feature-length film stemmed from the success of The Three Little Pigs in 1933. That film's popularity, particularly its catchy song Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, convinced Disney that audiences could connect with animated characters over an extended story. This breakthrough in animation, where characters show distinct personalities despite looking similar, inspired Disney to take on the challenge of creating a full-length animated film. He decided on Snow White after recalling the story from his childhood. And by 1934, production of the film began as Disney passionately worked with his team to develop the plot and animatic. However, turning Snow White into a reality was financially daunting. The success of The Three Little Pigs provided initial funding, but it was clear that a feature-length film would require much more money, as costs ballooned well beyond the original estimate of $250,000, over approximately $6 million today. Walt Disney and his brother Roy O. Disney had to mortgage their homes and secure multiple loans from the Bank of America. Despite growing concerns from the bank, Walt's faith in the project remained unshaken. When a bank vice president visited the studio to see the unfinished film, Walt's nervousness was met with a simple but reassuring remark: "That thing is going to make a hatful of money." The loan was finally approved, and Snow White would eventually become one of the most successful films in cinematic history. Disney's journey to securing a distribution contract with RKO Radio Pictures began after a series of setbacks with earlier ventures like Laugh-O-Gram Films and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, the character Disney created before Mickey Mouse. After struggling with financial instability and being taken advantage of by distributors like Charles Mintz, Walt learned the importance of owning his characters and products. He went on to create Mickey Mouse and revolutionized animation with synchronized sound. When Walt's television rights became a point of contention with United Artists, he signed a deal with RKO in 1937. RKO took a leap of faith in distributing Walt's ambitious Snow White feature. However, after a falling out with RKO in the late 1940s, Walt created his own distribution company, Buena Vista, in 1953, after proving his worth with Seal Island, which won an Academy Award. Raised in a musical family, Adriana Caselotti was educated in both Italy and the US before her big break came when she was 18 years old. While her father, a music teacher, was in talks with a Disney casting director, Adriana overheard the conversation and confidently offered her the voice for the role. After testing her voice and recording songs, Disney animators used her gestures as inspiration for the character. She went on to make radio appearances and play small film roles, including in The Wizard of Oz, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, 1939. She remained actively involved in celebrating Snow White's legacy, participating in numerous publicity events over the years. Proud of her role in creating a timeless classic, she famously stated, "I know that my voice will never die," before sadly passing away in 1997. Initially, Disney's Snow White featured a very different character design. Early concept art depicted her with blonde or even ginger hair, which was common in animation at the time. These variations were partly influenced by popular actresses of the era, such as Marlene Dietrich and Jean Harlow, both of whom were blonde and epitomized beauty and innocence. Blonde hair, associated with purity and charm, was considered a fitting feature for Snow White, and was also used in other Disney works, like the 1934 short The Goddess of the Spring. The character's design eventually changed when the team decided to give Snow White dark, raven-colored hair, emphasizing the contrast with her pale skin and ruby red lips. This choice made her striking beauty a central element of the story and contributed to the character's lasting visual identity. The decision to depict Snow White with dark hair was not initially seen as a defining feature, but became one of the most recognizable aspects of her appearance, solidifying her status as a beloved Disney princess. The success of the animated film and this distinctive visual identity led Snow White to becoming a cultural icon, and her look continues to influence later Disney works that include the character, such as the 2011 to 2018 TV show Once Upon a Time made for ABC. Lucille Laverne was cast as the evil queen in the film after impressing the team with her versatile acting skills, which ranged from theatrical performances to film roles. Initially, Disney hired her for one role, but Laverne's extensive stage experience and ability to portray both the queen and her wicked alter ego, the witch, led the directors to assign her for both parts. Her chilling voice, especially when transforming into the witch, became a defining element of the character, helping to establish the queen as one of the most formidable Disney villains. Laverne's dramatic range and professional delivery convinced Walt Disney and the filmmakers to let her shape the role. Many sequences for the film were directed by Perce Pierce, William Cottrell, Larry Morey, Wilfred Jackson, and Ben Sharpstein, all supervised by David Hand. David Hand was chosen by Walt Disney as the supervising director for the film due to his extensive experience and success in animation. Having joined Disney in 1930, Hand had worked on over 60 cartoons, including the Academy Award-winning Flower and Trees in 1932. His expertise in animation, along with his pioneering contributions to early Disney shorts like Mickey Mouse and Silly Symphonies, made him an ideal candidate to lead Disney's first full-length animated feature. Hand's deep understanding of animation, his drive, and his ability to grasp Walt Disney's vision distinguish him as a top choice for the role, ensuring the success of Snow White and later Bambi, 1942. For the film, Walt Disney used storyboards to bring a new level of organization to the production, which was crucial for a feature-length film. Unlike shorts that followed a single, simple concept, Snow White required careful structuring of dramatic beats, jokes, and songs to enhance the overall narrative. Storyboarding allowed the team to map out scenes visually by pinning concept images in sequence, which helped shape the story and refine the script. Disney's strong narrative instincts played a key role in guiding the process, ensuring that the complex story was well organized and cohesive throughout production. In the Disney film, the titular lead is portrayed as a young teen, while the original story features her as just 7 years old. Disney also softens the darker elements of the Grimm brothers' fairy tale, such as the Queen's repeated attempts to kill Snow White with increasingly dangerous items, like a poisoned cumin bodice. Disney's version reduces the Queen to a stepmother, while in Grimm's original, she is Snow White's biological mother. One of the biggest changes is the famous True Love's Kiss in the Disney film, which contrasts with the Grimm's version, where Snow White is awakened not by a kiss, but by the accidental dislodging of a poisoned apple piece after the prince's servants mishandle her coffin. Additionally, the Queen's gruesome death is much more violent in the Grimm tale, where she is forced to dance in hot iron shoes until she dies, a far darker fate than the Disney version's more straightforward conclusion. Production of the film involved many women behind the scenes, particularly in the ink and paint department, where hundreds of women worked long hours under intense pressure to fill and paint the cells that would bring the animation to life. Despite being credited minimally in the film, these women were responsible for the film's vibrant colors and intricate details, such as Snow White's rosy cheeks, achieved by adding a bit of cosmetic rouge to each cell. The work was demanding and meticulous, often requiring them to work late into the night with little rest. Although most of the animators were men, it was the women ink and painters who helped define the film's visual style. Meanwhile, the film's development saw inspiration from real-life actresses for character designs, such as Marge Champion for Snow White and Joan Crawford for the Evil Queen. However, some of the key figures involved in the film, like voice actress Adriana Caselotti, faced difficulty in exploitative contracts, which severely limited their careers afterward. Disney's Snow White revolutionized animation for the use of innovative techniques, such as celluloid animation. The film pioneered multiplane filming, which helped create a more realistic 3D effect in a 2D animation and incorporated intricate detailing that brought the characters and their environments to life. Disney's animators also employed a variety of character design methods, using traditional caricature techniques for the dwarves and a more photorealistic approach for Snow White and the other human characters. This combination of artistic methods helped distinguish the human characters from the more exaggerated dwarf designs and enhanced the overall storytelling, with Snow White's characters appearing more lifelike and emotionally expressive. Another key technique was rotoscoping, which involved filming live-action actors then painting the animation frame by frame to match their movements. This method was considered less prestigious but proved invaluable for creating lifelike human characters in the film. The animators used rotoscoping to carefully capture the subtleties of human emotion, lending depth and realism to the characters, especially Snow White herself. The technique helped to set the human figures apart from the more cartoonish dwarves, adding a sense of authenticity to their actions and interactions, and was crucial in making Snow White's animation stand out from earlier works that relied more heavily on exaggerated movements and caricatured designs. Frank Churchill became the composer for the film after establishing himself as a key figure in Disney's early musical landscape. Initially hired in the early 1930s, Churchill began composing music for Disney's Silly Symphonies shorts, with his breakout success being the song "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf" from the Three Little Pigs, which became a hit during the Great Depression. His success helped change Disney's approach to music and animation, leading to his collaboration with lyricist Larry Morey on Snow White. For this film, Churchill composed many iconic songs, including Hi-Ho, Someday My Prince Will Come, and Whistle While You Work, and co-composed the instrumental score, which earned an Academy Award nomination. His innovative work on the film solidified his role as a major contributor to Disney's musical legacy. Someday My Prince Will Come was written by Churchill with lyrics by Larry Morey and was first conceptualized in 1934. The song's creation came to question in a lawsuit filed by Thornton Allen, who claimed that Churchill had plagiarized the song's chorus from his 1909 composition Old Eli, of which Allen held the copyright. He alleged that there were significant musical similarities between the two, specifically in the first 8 bars. However, the courts ultimately ruled in favor of Disney. It was found that while there were some similarities, there were not enough to constitute plagiarism. The judge noted that the harmonic structure of both pieces had significant differences, and expert witnesses testified that any resemblance was minor and typical of common musical progressions. Additionally, there was no evidence that Churchill had access to Old Eli when composing the song. Ultimately, the court concluded that the similarities were not substantial enough to prove any plagiarism, and the reputation and expertise of Churchill as a composer further supported his evidence. As of the 15th of March 2025, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has a 97% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 96 out of 100 critic score on Metacritic, a 7.6 rating on IMDb, and a 3.4 rating on Letterboxd. The film was such a huge financial success during its initial release that Disney used to screen the film, along with other Disney animated films, every 5 to 7 years. During its 50th anniversary screening in 1987, the re-release then grossed over $45 million, worth over $125 million today. A sequel to Snow White never materialized, primarily due to internal struggles at Disney Toons and changing creative visions. In the early 2000s, Disney Toons launched an initiative to expand its universe by developing new franchises from existing characters. This led to consideration of a Snow White spin-off, specifically focusing on the Seven Dwarfs. Despite the enduring popularity of these characters, the project faced multiple challenges, including differing visions among directors and writers, the need for a director who could balance creativity with commercial appeal, and difficulties in crafting a story that was both fresh and respectful to the original film. A prequel was envisioned, delving into the dwarves' backstory, but despite positive initial reactions to a pitch by Mike Diza and Evan Spiliotopoulos, the project struggled with inconsistent development and high expectations. Ultimately, despite significant efforts, including a planned video game prequel, the project was abandoned as the studio could not align on a direction that satisfied both artistic ambitions and the commercial success required by Disney. The Walt Disney Company enforced strict control over the use of the names and characters associated with its Snow White adaptation, holding them under copyright and trademark protection. In 2001, Disney denied permission for a stage production of the original fairy tale in Kendall to use the original names of the dwarves: Sleepy, Doc, Grumpy, Bashful, Sneezy, Happy, and Dopey. The company cited that these names and personalities were created by Disney and are fully protected by its copyright laws, explaining that granting permission to use them would imply a connection or sponsorship by the company. As a result, the production was forced to rename the dwarfs to Snuggles, Bigwig, Grouchy, Shy One, A Tissue, and Chuckles. Despite the disappointments of the production team and participants of that play, including Sean Pickard, the MenCat Millennium Award winner behind the project, they had to comply with Disney's policy, acknowledging the company's ownership of these iconic characters. And that wraps up our deep dive into the making of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all things movies in the making. Let us know in the comments what you think of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or if you have any favorite moments from that film we did not touch upon, or what films you would like to hear covered by this channel. Also be sure to check out our community page, where we announce what films will be talked about by this channel each week. New posts arrive every Friday, or Saturday if we forget to post on Friday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time on Movies in the Making, where we will be talking about Taxi Driver, Columbia Pictures, 1976, and more films to follow along the way. Tune in for more Movies in the Making as we uncover the stories behind cinema's most unforgettable films. This has been Jason Scotchmer, film enthusiast and passionate about the arts.